Hi there, I'm Greg Winkler, Artistic Director of Peninsula Players Theater, and I'm here with Tom Mula, who is a very dear and very old friend of mine and is a face very familiar with lots of our audiences. So, hey, Tom, how are you?
Hey, Greg. Hi. Greg and I were college roommates in 1972.
Yes, we do go way back. I also just to give our audience an idea of how involved Tom has been with Peninsula Players. He has acted, performed in 35 shows.
Mhm.
He has directed 15. He's done makeup for our productions of Into the Woods and Blithe Spirit, among others. And he has also written a play for us, Bob Almighty. So you have quite a connection to the place.
Well, yeah, 26, 27 seasons. Yeah, Penn Players is, all of us call it our home down by the bay. And that's really how we think of it. It's been a hugely important part of my artistic life.
You started now when did you first come up?
93. You asked me if I wanted to do The Mystery of Irma Vep, and before you finished the title, I said yes, because it's actually one of my favorite plays, and I had always wanted to do it. And while we had some discussions about who was going to be the pretty one, I eventually prevailed, and that was my first show up there,
Yes,
the
and
fall of '93. Yeah.
it was crazy fun to do.
Oh, it was a blast.
So,
It was a blast.
what was your first impression when you arrived at the Players property?
Well, that was in the old days. In '93, they didn't have the upper property for the actors, so we were all staying down in the new housing,
Yeah,
lower housing on the next to the parking lot. And I got out of my car and I go, "This is dog patch." And I thought, well, if I get back in the car really fast and just drive back, I'll tell Greg something came up. But then we started rehearsal the next day, and 3 days later, I was in love with the place.
so what made you in love with it?
Oh well, it's one of the most beautiful places I've been. Uh, um,
Are you talking
I,
about the actual property or Door County or
both the actual property and Door County are gorgeous. Living in the old housing, you would hear the waves lapping on the shore every night as you're going to sleep. You're living in a cedar forest. Uh, they feed you,
yes,
and they do really good work. And you're working with nice people. Greg, you've always been really, it's been an important part of your job to make sure that because we're living together and eating together and working together and doing art together, it's a very high pressure situation, really.
yeah.
So you're always very careful to make sure that you hire the best, not only the best artists, but also the nicest people.
Yeah, well, it's really important because we're in such close quarters. We all eat, work, and play together.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming maybe a lot of our audience doesn't know that while we're performing a show at night, we're rehearsing the next one during the day. So
Double
it's,
days, yeah. You have time to grab a nap before dinner, and then you're working. So you're really working from 10 in the morning until 10 or 11 at night.
yeah. Well, so what is your memory of the old theater, of working on that stage?
It wasn't a theater. It's just a hole cut in the side of an old barn with no foundation.
Yes,
And it's up. Is it up on cinder blocks? I think it is.
I think
Uh,
of it.
but or used to be, but
Yeah,
but unsafe is the big word that comes to mind. Uh,
it
uh,
became that way. Yes.
it certainly did. There were wildlife living in the theater at about 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock. You'd see little bat noses starting to stick out between the boards backstage. They lived inside the walls backstage, and
Yep.
sometimes inside some of the drops that were stored back there. and they would fly out, and you had some very memorable interactions with some of the bats, as I
Yes,
recall.
yes. You had one story. You did a production of See How They Run in
Oh yeah,
2000,
yeah.
and you had
Yeah,
an encounter.
I was the fourth priest on stage, or maybe the fifth. I was the fifth priest on stage, but we're all dressed the same, and so I'm standing center stage, and Joe Faust runs across downstage, and, dressed exactly like me, and runs up the stairs, stage left, and runs off stage. And Jonathan Weir runs across the stage, dressed exactly like me, and runs up the stairs, stage left, and runs off stage. Brad Mott, dressed exactly like me, runs across the stage, runs in front of me, runs up the stairs, stage left, goes off stage. A bat follows him, flies across the stage, flies in front of me, circles me, and then goes up the stairs and off stage left.
And what did you do?
I didn't have to do anything. The audience, we all laughed together for about 5 minutes, and then we went on with the show. But it was a miracle. It was one of those just as I tell that story, and people don't believe it's true, but it absolutely was.
Yes, yes. We had lots of stories about bats. I remember Carmen Roman came out one night with a bat on her dress. It came out.
Yep.
And you were just telling me that during one of the strikes, you had
Oh yeah, yeah. The actors help with taking down the set in both the new theater and the old. And in the old theater, someone was walking a flat down. And what that is they put their toe on the corner of the flat, and then they lean the flat towards you, and you catch the flat as it's coming towards you. Well, as the flat came down towards me, all of the bats had been using the top of that flat for their little bat restroom for maybe 3 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. So I'm standing there, okay, let it go, and a shower of bat poop comes down in my face. It was very memorable.
And that was some of the joy of working in the old theater.
That was the first time that I had experienced the kind of cleanliness and washing that we're all doing these days.
Yeah, yes, yes. And backstage was a little old too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was rustic. It was the back of a barn.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother us. Some people I know came from the city and did not like the rusticness of the place, but that was really pretty rare. Most people responded strongly to doing really good work, and working with people that they loved. And so you're willing to rough it a tiny bit, and that's really all it was, just roughing it a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there was no bathroom backstage in the old barn. There is now. Now we have air conditioning, which is
Yes.
really nice in the summer.
What did we use for bathroom?
Well, Bob Thompson used the woods.
Oh,
And he would just stand on the porch and just pee into the woods, and the rest of us would kind of sneak through the crowd. Oh, glad you're enjoying the show. Oh, thank you very much. And you could go to the bathroom in the box office.
I see. and you got to direct. You were actually in the last season in the old theater.
Right, right. I acted in, oh geez, what was it? I directed Red Herring, and I acted in Tom, Dick, and Harry, which was one of those Ray Cooney farces, which was a blast. And also Uneasy Chair was what we started with that season.
Right, right.
Tom, Dick, and Harry was where, can I tell the Joe Faust story?
About
Joe Faust had a medical issue.
no.
I can't tell that story now. Okay.
They can get in touch with you and ask
Okay.
you about it. Yeah.
It's a goodie.
Yeah. And then that was 2005, and then in 2006, by the time we got to opening of the season, we had a brand new theater.
Right.
And you were in that first season.
Yeah, and in the old days, by the time that we were done with the old theater, it was genuinely unsafe. You would it's an old barn, and so people would lean on the barn wall, stage right, and the barn wall, stage left, would move.
Mm-hmm.
I always, yeah, it was, it got to be a little scary.
Yeah,
So we had the new theater and the next year, and they were building it. There was a building crew 24/7, getting the theater ready to go for master class. They rehearsed master class with hard hats on the stage. They had to wear hard hats on the stage. The chairs came in like the night before or 2 nights before.
right before, yes.
And Masterclass was a lovely show. Carmen Roman playing the lead in that, really good show. And then we started rehearsal for Noises Off, big stupid noisy farce. And Joe Faust directed that, and I was in that.
And you were also in Cabaret.
Yes, and that was a blast.
Yes, that was a big show.
Mhm.
Um, well, Tom, thank you for chatting with us about the old theater, and let's chat again about the new theater and your work in it. Tell me how you've been involved with players for a long time, and you've said some reasons about coming back, but you clearly it has a place in your heart.
Oh,
And
absolutely. I think, I was talking about the work. It's one of the things that makes us love the place, is that, and this is, cover your ears for a minute. This Greg strives to do good work, and he has a good taste in terms of the plays that he picks, and in general, good taste in terms of the people that he hires. I'm of course an exception to that, but I know back in the olden days that the quality was a little iffy sometimes. And I don't think you can really say that, really, for the last 10, 15, 20 years, really. The quality is as good. I mean, Greg hires uh, professionals who work all the time in big cities like Chicago, and we come up to Door County and do the same good work. So the standards are really very high, and I would say it's an important regional theater that doesn't really get the the credit that it deserves in that way.
And I do have to add that you are and have been a very large part of that process and that product, and that our audiences love you dearly and
Oh,
are
thanks.
always asking about you and always
Is he out
happy.
of jail yet?
But they're always happy to have you back, either as an actor or as a
Thanks.
director, because you've done
Thanks.
some splendid work.
Well, it's
Well,
been a
thanks for
pleasure.
being with us. And we'll talk again soon, okay?
Okay, great.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.